Welcome to this tutorial series of AoW4. My name is DasTactic, and before I get started, a thank you to my Patreon supporters, or if you've sort of supported the channel through merchandise or buying games through my Nexus game store. All those things are in the links in the description, so you can sort of grab them at your whim there. So I've got sort of my 10 favourite games basically on the Nexus game store. Actually, not my 10 favourite probably. There's some of the games I can't actually get through the Nexus game store. Anyway, today we're going to be looking at like essentially expanding your city through provinces and how provinces actually work. So this will be again a fairly short video. This will be just really, this is the first expansion for our city. Now I will come back and do one later on when we're sort of probably in the mid-game about how to improve your city in different sorts of ways. Now, just a few little things about provinces. The provinces, once you choose a province, there's no way to get rid of them. So if we choose, for example, the province that's down into here, and if I want to see what the provinces actually are, I can just go and click anywhere on the map. It will then just highlight where the provinces actually do show up. And so this is a claim. You can see that we've got a claim in this province for ourselves. If we go and click over here, for example, at Ductus, we should see that they've got a claim on that particular province, which means that if we claim this, if we take this in any sort of fashion, it's going to upset them a little bit. Well, it won't be dramatic. Now, even over this one, it's probably got theirs. Actually, that's unclaimed wilderness back in through that side. But essentially, you've got to be careful where you do, if you're not treading on people's toes. When we've got like spawners, like this great bird's nest, we can sort of have a look at the province that's in there. We've got the claim on that one through there. That's a distant claim because it's a little way away. It's 3 away from our city. But for an AI, 3 away is still part of something that we want to be claiming. So back in here, actually the claims on that one is from Copper Spire because that's right next to Copper Spire. So they consider this part of their territory. So that would be something diplomatically that they would then be wanting to do. So that's sort of how it works. Now, once a city or an outpost or whatever it is ends up claiming a province, you never ever can swap it back out. So don't think that you can actually just claim something and then swap it for something else. If you're used to playing Planetfall, it doesn't work the same way. I sort of wish it did, but I also am sort of, it's interesting that it doesn't as well. It means you've got to think through what you're doing. So the provinces, to sort of show up what you can do, our city has now gone from 1 population to 2 population. That's the little number 2 that we see in through there. If we go and have a look at this one through this side, we'll see that we've now got 2 population in here, and we're going to have, in 3 turns, it'll go from 2 to 3. And that's really a function of the food that's generated in the city, and we can then just hover over to see what's actually happening through that side. But as we get each population point, we then can actually go and then choose one of the actual areas around the city. Now, let's have a bit of a look at this, because this, I think, is really helpful if you are new to the game. What we're seeing through here is we're seeing 2 different sizes. We're seeing a smaller size down through this side and over here. These are the same size. And we've got larger ones up through here. Now, the reason for that is that these are going to give us some sort of boost if we build one of the 4 different types that we're seeing through there. Whereas the 4 types through here, we don't get a big boost with these. Let's have a look at just the farming, because that's really the one that does kick in across all of these different things. So if I go and hover over that one through there, if we built a farm there, if I click there, I'd be getting +5 food per turn. If I go over to here and click on this one through here as well, I also get 5 per turn. If I go to the farm up through this side, I end up with 5 food and 10 production. So that's the production counter, which is sort of back over here, which then goes into the actual city production back in this other side in through this area. And so if we went with that farm, we'd end up getting a little bit extra from the iron deposit that's at the back there. That's why these are larger, because we're getting a bonus by choosing that farm if we decided to choose it there. And then this one back over here, if we hover over it, we're getting +15. And the reason for that is we're getting the 5 from the farm, plus we have a pastures, which is this area back in through the side here. Now, to sort of see that in a different way, if we just hover back out and go to the mud map of what's going on, we can then sort of see exactly what's going on. We can hover over these things. We've got an iron deposit there. We've got a pastures in through that side. This can be helpful if you're trying to sort of then plan where you want your expansion to be once you've sort of got things. Like we can see there, we've got a gold vein in there, for example, inside this area of the brigands. The brigands control that particular province, but that would be something worth getting as well. And if we got that one, we get plus 10 gold. So that's what we actually can see back and through this side. So if I just go back in and click on Kesberg again. So really, if you're seeing the larger sizes here, you probably really want to be choosing one of them instead of one of these smaller ones because of the extra bonuses. Now, if there is something like an actual unit that's, and I think there is a unit there, but I don't have anyone that can go back and show it. But if there is a unit over the top of this one, it's still worth getting the provinces, because once you clear them out, you'll then get the bonus. You just won't get the bonus immediately. In this case, we then have to choose, okay, well, what are we going to go for? Now, you may sort of, when you look at this, think, oh, okay, well, it's suggesting in this one here that it's promoting the mine above the quarry and above the farm. It's actually not. This is the way that the game actually just does it. It's just presenting one of these three you can build here. These are what's allowable, but it's up to you what you want to actually go and build. So if we built a mine on this quarry location, we would then end up with extra gold and production. We get the 10 production from the iron mine all the time. If we go with a quarry, we then end up with you can see there plus 15 production and then plus 2 gold. We end up with a little bit of gold if we choose the quarry, and then if again the farm, we just get the production plus the food. So you can see there that really when you add all of those things together, the one that gives us the most is actually the quarry. So the quarry would be the preferred option in this particular instance. Now, it still may not be the best way for us to do anything, and I'll just show you another little aspect that we should keep into account when we're doing this one. Now, you're probably thinking, why are we getting extra gold there? And this is the way that we started. Now, I don't know if it'll show us in here as to what's going on. There it is, actually down the bottom here. The great builders that we got as the destined humans is giving us the plus 2. If we go to destined humans and just go down to the great builders, when we set up our faction, when we chose our faction, the effects of being having a great builder society is that we have quarries yield plus 2 gold. So quarries are good for us. The trouble with quarries is that they actually impact our city stability. Now, I'll do something very particular on city stability, but city stability, when I hover over that one, we can see there that, for example, the domain is plus 20 and the city structures is plus 10. If I go and choose that one, I don't want to click on it because we may not want a quarry. We'll have a look in just a minute. But if I go and click on that one, we should see that change. It may still happen with the farm as well. We'll see how we go. Anyway, let's just go and have a look. What we really want to be figuring out is what buildings are we going to be wanting to build in the future, and how will these different initial buildings help us? We've got 2 turns before the storehouse comes. Now you can see there when I hover over the storehouse, at the very, very bottom of that tooltip, it's saying that the boost, it gets a boost if there's one forester that's been built. Now, if I end up building a forester through here, I'm going to ultimately end up with 2 food and 3 production. And if I hadn't have built the storehouse, that would then be boosted along a little bit and make it a bit cheaper for me. If I go back into the build structures, you can see that nothing is actually boosted at this point in time. But if I hover over everything, and the important ones for us is going to be either food or production. Now the vendor is going to give, sorry, not food or production, food or gold usually. Sometimes production, usually draft, like through the blacksmith, is not critical. So this is probably the least impressive. But to get a blacksmith, we're going to need to have 2 quarries built. Down the bottom there, you can sort of see. So 2 quarries for that one through there. We can get one there and one there if we wanted to go that way, but we probably won't want to go that way. The clergy commons is going to give us mana and gold. And for this one, we need 1 quarry to get the bonus for that one. The granary is going to be wanting 2 foresters. The library, which will then sort of improve our knowledge, is going to give us, like, that requires 1 forester. So we've got a couple there that require foresters. The stonemason requires 2 farms, and then the vendor requires 1 farm. So it really comes down to, if we end up with a quarry, we're going to be able to build the clergy commons and the, which one was it? They're all farms, aren't they? They're just different farms that we actually end up having foresters in through there. So really the only one we're going to be able to get is this clergy commons, which will give us a little bit of mana and a little bit of gold. And that still could be very, very useful. So that's one way we could go. Ideally, I'd like to be trying to focus on food and also gold. And so the vendor will give me gold income, and the boost for that one is a farm. So let's go and build a farm. And the logical place to build the farm is back in here. So we can build the farm and we get plus 15 food. We'll see our 38 food will then go up. So just keep in mind a few little things. We've got 30 city stability at this point in time. The domain is plus 20 and the city structures is plus 10. We've got 38 food coming in. I go and click on the farm. Okay, and then we'll just open up the city again. We can see it's immediate the effect of it, and so we now have instead of 3 turns, it's now 2 turns. Our food has gone up to 54 food, so we've now got the extra. And we can sort of see in through there. There should be the population is eating 6 multipliers. We've got plus 3 in through that side. We can just hover over there, and you can see there the stability is what's actually giving us the plus 3 extra food as well. The domain itself, we've got the farm is giving us plus 5, the pastures plus 10, and the governor bonus that we actually have as well from our governor is also kicking in with just a little bit extra in that domain area. And then the city structures, we have the town centre which gives us plus 40. And so that's actually how we get our food, just through the development of the city and its provinces. Now, remember, we cannot get rid of a province once we've selected it, so that's always going to be part of this particular city. We can't swap them around afterwards. So sometimes it may be worthwhile taking over an enemy city, if you're playing evil, and destroying the city, so that you then end up getting access to important provinces. That may be a consideration. By the way, now that we've taken this one, you'll notice that we can now sort of see the other ones that now start to show up around us as well. We can see that there's a few more that we can then sort of have more access to. Some of them are small, some of them are large, like in through here. So that's all sort of heading in the right direction. Okay, so now as far as we've done the buildings, we can now see with that one selected that the vendor. And I should have shown what this was beforehand, but essentially the vendor is now cheaper for us to build in terms of the gold and also in terms of the time. So this has now been boosted along because we've got the farm. So boosting a city structure reduces its cost by 30%. So and they're automatic as soon as we get the actual farm itself. I hope that all makes sense. It's sort of one of these things where you don't have to min-max it, but just look for the larger icons to start with, and then choose accordingly as to what your needs are. But just be aware of the sorts of buildings you may be wanting to get. You may find that, like gold, you tend to run out of pretty easily, along with mana at different times as well. So just be aware of those too when you're actually making your decision. I do like to try to get my vendors. I like to get the growth so we can get the expansion, so we can get the extra bonuses coming in. And so I like to get food and I like to get gold initially, just to sort of boost those things along. Okay, I think I'll just leave it there. That's a fairly sort of simple way of looking at city provinces. Thanks for watching.